let's talk a little bit here about application latency and cloud technology. So we're really talking about how do we deliver applications right over a cloud environment, and when we're really talking about legacy environments, right? Many of us have these legacy infrastructures, and now we want to move to this new infrastructure called cloud. So what are some of the gotchas associated with that? Well, let's start off with some of the knowns here, right? We know that we have some sort of data structure here that supplies the structure for our application. GOTS, government off-the-shelf application. This could be COTS as well, right? Or whatever, your own grown application, whatever it is. Today, it operates within an infrastructure, an IT infrastructure. Wherever that is, most likely it's an IT infrastructure that's, inside of your environment, right? So we have to make sure we understand kind of all of these variables when we talk about applications within a cloud environment. So let me get going here. So we have the GOTS application or COTS application runs off a database. We know that, right? And we know that it delivers that data to a PC somewhere, right? And so this is more of the application layer, right? Or the presentation layer. Okay, so something gets presented here, whether it's, pictures or images or, whatever, or some sort of data, right? The application itself is providing that data here in a legacy environment. And let's say that the tolerance for the application is 25 milliseconds. So remember, this is tolerance. Okay, and that is latency tolerance. Okay, so we're going to put here latency. Okay, so we need to make sure that we understand what our latency is within this environment. And we're saying, whoops, whoa, that's pretty dark. We're saying that it is 25 milliseconds is our latency. Okay, well, that's still not very good. So we won't highlight it. I think you understand where it is by now since I've tried to highlight it twice. So here, that doesn't work either. So 25 milliseconds, let's just go with that. Okay, so that's great. We understand this is our legacy environment. Now, and that's easy, right? So we provide that today through to our user here that appears on their screen here, right? And so we'll kind of dash out the screen here. This is the legacy view. All right, and so it's working, it's great, it's wonderful. Now, you say to yourself, how do I move that to a cloud environment? Well, many of the times this data structure here within the environment has to stay within the environment because it may be doing the presentation for application number 1, but application 2, for example, also uses this data structure. We'll use some of my past experience with the VA where this is running in a VMS environment running a mumps-based application, right? So VMS has the application. So how do you do that? Well, this cloud then essentially becomes the presentation layer for you, right? And so you can do the presentation layer here within the cloud environment, right? No problem at all there. Okay, so we're going to move this, but now we've got to communicate back to this data structure that sits here because we're not going to move the data structure perhaps right now into the cloud environment because it may not support, or we may have multiple applications here in our legacy environment still. So we need to make sure that the latency is less than 25 milliseconds. Well, in most cases, and then that would, of course, allow you to view, right, your data from your cloud environment. Here, your user will be able to see their data immediately right out there on the cloud. Okay? So the problem with this is the latency. And this is going to be the #1 problem to any application migration. Because theoretically what we need to do is if our latency is too great, we're going to need to implement that data structure within our cloud. So that now that cloud environment has a presentation layer and we have very minimal latency. So if this application or this data structure itself is not ready to move to here, then we're going to have a challenge. And the way we solve that challenge is to implement a private or dedicated cloud here to handle these applications. As we get our applications more into a multi-tenant environment, we then migrate into this multi-tenant cloud where we don't have to worry about the latency. So hopefully that helps understand where our main problems are. Remember, the main issue here when we talk about legacy environments is latency. We need to manage what that latency is. There are many ways to solve this problem. You can look at data centers with peering points within the data center. You can move the legacy data structure. There's lots of ways to solve this problem.